spectacle. It arrived quietly. No countdown clock. No pressure to celebrate correctly. No feeling that something meaningful would be lost if you blinked. In many homes, the new year was marked by a candle burning low, a radio humming softly, or simply the sound of winter outside the window. So how did a moment that once felt personal turn into something we now watch instead of feel? Tonight, we're not talking about resolutions or parties. We're uncovering why the new year slowly changed, and what we may have lost along the way. There was a time when the new year didn't explode into your life. It arrived slowly, almost politely. No countdown clock screaming from every screen. No confetti cannons. No pressure to feel transformed by midnight. For most of history, the new year wasn't something you watched. It was something you felt. And somehow, along the way, that feeling changed. Tonight, we're not talking about fireworks or famous moments. We're talking about mood, about atmosphere, about why the new year used to feel intimate, and why today it often feels loud, distant, and strangely hollow. When New Year's was quiet in the early 1900s, New Year's Eve didn't belong to the streets. It belonged to homes. Families gathered in living rooms warmed by fireplaces or coal stoves. Radios hummed softly in the background. Clocks ticked loudly enough to be heard. Midnight wasn't a spectacle, it was a pause. People didn't shout. When the year turned, they listened. Some prayed, some hugged. Some simply sat still, letting the moment pass through them. New Year's resolutions weren't public declarations. They were private promises, often written by hand, folded carefully, and never shown to anyone else. The new year felt personal, because it was personal, the roll of time. Itself part of what made the new year feel different back then was how people experienced time. Life moved slower. Days weren't broken into notifications. Years weren't measured by algorithms or productivity charts. When a year ended, people felt the weight of it. A farmer thought about harvests. A factory worker thought about shifts survived. A parent thought about children who had grown just a little taller. The new year wasn't about becoming someone new overnight. It was about carrying yourself forward. Radio changed everything. The shift began quietly with radio. By the 1920s and 1930s, New Year's Eve entered the airwaves. Families gathered not just around clocks, but around voices from far away. Radio unified the moment. Everyone heard midnight at the same time. This created something new, a shared national experience. It was comforting, but it was also the first step away from the personal. New Year's stopped belonging only to the room you were in and began belonging to everyone. Everywhere, all at once. War years, and meaning during World War I and World War II, New Year's carried heavy emotional weight. Midnight wasn't hopeful. It was uncertain. Families listened to broadcasts with anxious hearts. Some welcomed the new year with empty chairs at the table. Others marked time by survival, not celebration. The new year became a moment of endurance. And in those years, it mattered deeply, because no one knew what the next year would bring. Or who would be there to see it? Television turns the new year into a show after the war. Television arrived, and with it, a new idea: the new year as entertainment. By the 1950s and 1960s, families weren't just listening, they were watching. Times Square became a symbol, a stage, a ritual repeated year after year. Midnight now had a visual centerpiece. And slowly, quietly, the new year stopped being something you experienced and became something you consumed. You didn't mark time yourself anymore. You waited for someone else to tell you it had arrived. The loss of local traditions as broadcasts grew larger. Local traditions faded. Small-town bells stopped ringing. Neighborhood gatherings disappeared. Unique customs gave way to national sameness. The new year began to look the same everywhere. And when everything looks the same, it starts to feel the same, predictable, replaceable, less meaningful. The commercial turned by the late 20th century. The new year had been fully packaged. Specials, sponsors, brand countdowns, pre-written resolutions. Hope became a product. The message shifted from reflection to reinvention. You must change. You must improve. You must start over. The new year stopped being a doorway and became a deadline. Why it feels emptier now today? The new year arrives louder than ever and somehow feels quieter inside. We're surrounded by noise, but starved for meaning. We watch millions celebrate. Alone we're told to feel joy on schedule, optimism on demand, transformation by midnight. And when we don't feel it, we assume something is wrong with us. But nothing is wrong. The new year didn't always ask this much of people. What we lost, and what remains what we lost, wasn't tradition. It was intimacy. The new year used to be about noticing the passage of time, not conquering it. It was about gratitude more than ambition, continuation more than reinvention. And here's the quiet truth. That version of the new year isn't gone. It's just been buried under noise. You don't need a crowd to mark time. You don't need fireworks to feel meaning. You don't need a broadcast to welcome a year. Sometimes, all it takes is a quiet moment, a clock ticking, and the courage to feel time pass. The new year didn't always feel like this. And it doesn't have to. If you choose to slow down, if you choose to remember, the old feeling is still waiting, just like it always was. The truth is, the new year didn't change all at once. It shifted quietly year by year until celebration became performance, and tradition became broadcast. And yet, traces of the old feeling still survive. In quiet living rooms, in handwritten notes, in moments when the world pauses just long enough to breathe. Maybe the new year was never meant to impress anyone. Maybe it was meant to remind us that time is passing and that we are still here. I'm curious, what did the new year feel like in your family growing up? Was it loud and exciting? Or calm and reflective? If this story reminded you of something you'd almost forgotten, consider saving it to return to when the year starts moving too fast. And if you want more stories like this, where history isn't rushed, and meaning isn't shouted, you know where to find